welcome back to another episode of The Business Bar. What I thought we could do today is combine two of my absolute favorite things in the entire world, and that is books and wine, and sit down and I was going to share with you the favorite books that I've been reading lately, because there have been so many amazing books that I've read recently, and I haven't done a book video in so long. So that is what we're going to be doing today. If you liked this episode, I would very much appreciate it if you gave it a big thumbs up. And of course, if you are new around here, then why not consider subscribing? This episode is usually me talking all about business, sharing my insights with you whilst either drinking or making some delicious drinks. So for today, I'm actually going to be drinking a Shiraz, and funnily enough, the name of this Shiraz is I Am George. If you don't know, my fiance's name is George, which is quite funny because my two favorite ones at the moment is I Am George and another one called Bad Henry. But anyway, that's beside the point. I would absolutely love to hear from you in the comments below. What is your favorite wine? And if you don't like wine, what's your favorite drink? Maybe it's coffee, maybe it's tea, maybe it's kombucha. I don't know, but leave me in the comments below what is your drink of choice. So I'm pretty much going to jump straight into the books because I do have quite a few that I wanted to share with you today. Now I'm gonna have to do another one of these because this is literally only probably a quarter of the books that I have either on my book list or have read recently. But these are the ones that I thought are really going to help you to A, connect with your spiritual side, and B, grow your business. So the first book that I wanted to share with you today, and I'm sure if you follow me on Instagram, you have absolutely no doubt that I was going to talk about this one. This is Light is the New Black by Rebecca Campbell. Now, I listened to the audiobook of this and then had to actually go out and buy the physical book because I loved it so much. This book is one of those books that I can honestly say was life-changing for me. So Rebecca Campbell is actually an Australian author, but this book is all about following your intuition, connecting with your intuitive side, and just releasing and surrendering to your fate and your destiny. And I know that's going to sound extremely woo-woo, but it's very practical the way in which she describes exactly how to do this. I think it's so common for us entrepreneurs to just be so forceful in the way that we do things. Like, we really just want to take control. We really want to charge at our goals and dreams. And I feel like this book just gave me the insight into how to have that perfect marriage or that perfect balance between taking action and hustling and then surrendering as well. Now, as I was reading this book, I'm going to be honest, I was going through one of those probably lower emotional times in my journey, and this book just reminded me of one crucial factor, and that is that, you know, whatever's going on around you, whether it be maybe your business isn't doing that great at the moment, or maybe you're getting a lot of negative feedback, or maybe people in your life aren't being supportive of you, whatever's going on in your life at the moment, just recognize that A, it's not permanent, and B, it's generally not about you. I know this is something I talk about all the time, but sometimes you just need somebody else to remind you of that. So I just really liked that book because of that fact. It just really reiterated that you just got to continue on. Don't let other people bring you down, and you need to be able to share your light because that is what you're here for. So whatever the desires that you have in your heart are, then you probably have those because that's what you were created to share. And this book is going to inspire you to really, really follow those internal desires. I couldn't recommend this enough, but I would say listen to the audiobook version and then get this if you can for the exercises. So there's a whole bunch of exercises that you can do, like creating a mood vision board. There's even stuff about personal branding in here, which is insane. That's probably why I loved it so much. But listen to the audiobook, read the book, I don't care, just get this into you ASAP. Now, the next book that I wanted to share is called Overnight Success, and just like I said on my vision board video, I am not going to try pronounce her surname. If you can pronounce that, go for it. But this book is absolutely amazing. It was a super easy read. I'm not going to say that it was like life-changing or that it gave me these really in-depth insights into myself or into my business. But you know, sometimes you just want to have those inspirational reads that just make you feel good. It's a feel-good book. A really great story about her journey. So Rodial, she's the CEO of Rodial, which is a skincare company, and they've also branched out into makeup. And it's just her story of exactly the grit and determination that she had to go through to really get her brand to, you know, global success, a brand that works with the Kardashians, a brand that is running beauty shows, award shows, and all of this stuff. Like, it's just a really great journey. It kind of reminds me of Girl Code a little bit. Girl Code's probably a little bit more spiritual. This is probably a little bit more practical. She doesn't really talk about the law of attraction or mindset so much. but it is just one of those really, really good feel-good reads. I would definitely recommend picking this one up if you're in kind of, again, one of those like lull times of your business where maybe you just need that little bit of like sparked motivation. Definitely pick this one up. It's super, super digestible as well. So the next book is obviously going to be crushing it. I feel like I don't really need to say anything about this book because everybody in our circle is talking about it at the moment, but I had to put it in there because it is such a great book. I'm not gonna lie, I got that far into the book, right? So that's not even a quarter. I got that far into the book and I was like, I need Gary's voice, man. I just need to listen to that guy shout at me. So I did go and get the audiobook version after that, but I think I will go back and again read it just because I don't know, lately I've been loving reading physical books, or I think I've just been loving owning physical books. I mean, like, look how pretty they look together. But anyway, Crushing It is undoubtedly the best entrepreneurial book of 2018. I've read Crush It, which was the first one, and absolutely loved it. I've recommended it in one of my previous book videos. Crushing It is amazing because it gives up-to-date advice with all the newer kind of social media platforms that have emerged since Crush It, but then it goes through some of people who've read the book and then gone out and done amazing things. Their stories, so that's why it's called Crushing It, because like how they're crushing it. Particularly Amy Landino, she actually narrates in the audiobook, but Amy Landino and Lauren Everett's story, which, you know, is super relatable to us girl bosses. I really loved that. And Rich Roll's story as well really, really, really inspired me. I do love Rich Roll, who also narrates the book in the audiobook version along with Gary and Amy. But this is all about personal branding. It's all about social media. It's all about hustle, grit, and grind, and what you actually need to put in order to get the results that you desire. If you listen to the podcast with Sam a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about just, you know, going out there and putting yourself out there and going full force at your goals and dreams, I feel like this is your handbook. If you listened to maybe Sam say that stuff and was like, well, I don't know what to do, this handbook is going to provide you the steps that you need to take in order to achieve that kind of success. So I definitely recommend this for anyone who has started a business or is putting their personal brand out there. It's an absolute gold mine of information. So now the next book that I do have is called Lucky Bitch. This is by another Australian author, Denise Duffield Thomas. I originally heard of Denise when I was listening to the Lively show, the Jess Lively podcast, which is all about manifestation, law of attraction, metaphysics. And Denise was interviewed on there about her $10 million manifestation. So she had achieved $10 million in her business, and she was talking all about that on the Lively show. And I just loved her story. She has such an incredible manifestation story. I kind of don't want to give it away, but it does involve traveling the world for 6 months, all expenses paid, with $3,000 a month spending money. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. Definitely either listen to the podcast or get the book because she does go through exactly how she did that in this book. But it is more about the law of attraction, but then also about, you know, well, it does say a guide for exceptional women to create outrageous success. So even though it's about the law of attraction, it's definitely targeting female entrepreneurs and women who are trying to create massive success in their lives. I've actually only just read a little bit of it, so I can't give a full review on this, but I'm loving it so far, and I know it is going to be one of those game-changing books because she's super relatable in the way that she writes, in the way that she speaks, and the journey that she has had. And it really just does show that we sometimes think that, you know, oh, I'm making $10 million in my business, that's such a far out, like, goal for us to be thinking about manifesting. But when you can really just be guided along someone's journey from where they went to from being broke, you know, in a crappy apartment in London, she actually lives in London now, but she's Australian, to actually manifesting and working and creating a business that's worth $10 million. It's so inspiring to be able to follow someone's journey along and figure out exactly how they did that spiritually and with action. So definitely this is another book that I do recommend. So then the next book was actually a recommendation by Angie Lee from the Rich Bitch podcast. And this is Why She Buys by Bridget Brennan. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't fully read this book yet. It's so funny, like I've started so many of these books. I like to read lots of books at once because I like to be intuitively just guided by what I need to hear at that current point in time. And for the past couple of weeks, it's been a lot of spiritual stuff, but I did start reading this. But Angie talks a lot about how this book really, really helps her to sell in her business. So I think so many of us have this kind of very strategic sales method when we don't understand that, particularly for us girl bosses dealing with women in our businesses, that women buy very not intuitively, but emotionally. And this book is going to be the blueprint for how to really tap into those emotions, not in any type of scammy way, just a way that you can empower women to take action for the best results for themselves by tapping into that emotional connection that they do have to their purchases. So what the example in this book that I did read was the woman who wrote it. It was talking about purchasing a car, and she had this routine and ritual of taking her coffee in a big mug on her way to work, and it was just like the best thing of her morning. And when she was buying a car, the guy who was selling her the car, she asked him the question, why there's no cup holders, or the cup holders are really weak and crappy. And he was like, people don't drink in their car, or Europeans don't drink in their car, because it was a BMW that she was going to buy. Anyway, long story short, she's basically like mortified because she was like, this guy obviously doesn't understand what a woman needs. So this really talks about why women buy. Women pretty much having the dominant purchasing power as well. So it's really great if you are in business to understand that driving force of industries and where the power lies and how to tap into that. And then the next book I don't have in physical copy because I did read it on my Kindle. So I thought, just because otherwise it'd be weird if I was just sitting here, that I'd hold up my Kindle, but that's also kind of weird as well. But anyway, the next book that I did read was The 4 Agreements. I've never read The 4 Agreements before, surprisingly, because I'm super into obviously my spiritual books, but for some reason I just never felt called to read it until recently, and I don't know why I waited so long. I now understand why so many people think The 4 Agreements is such a game-changing book. It really is just such a clever way to understand the things that we truly do need to let go of in life. Now, I know a lot of people normally go through and explain exactly what the 4 agreements are, but I don't really want to do that because I really want you to actually read it, because I'd heard a lot of people talk about what the 4 agreements were, and I understood what they were before actually reading the book, but it's the way that the author describes them that really, really resonated with me. And some of the stories that he uses, they're not outdated whatsoever. It is quite an old book, but I still think these stories that he used to describe how the 4 agreements apply to our life and how they can, once we do begin to follow them and change our lives in that way, we can live in ultimate fulfillment and happiness. But it's just the way that he describes it that really hit home for me. Something that I often do before I read books is I research the books so that I can better understand them. I'm not the best reader, so I kind of like to have an understanding of what the book is about before I read it. But when I actually read it, understanding what the 4 agreements were, the stories were what really hit home for me. I was like, at some stages, you know how you feel yourself like welling up because you're like, whoa, this is so deep. That's what it was like, both in Light is the New Black and the 4 agreements. So I definitely recommend you read those because it will just help you to be so much more centered. It will help you to go along your journey so much more fulfilled, so much more in tune with yourself and what's going to give you ultimate happiness at the end of the day. So those are the business and spiritual books that I do have to share with you today. I really hope that you enjoyed having a little glass of wine with me, or whatever your drink of choice was. Please don't forget to leave what your favorite drink is in the comments below, and I will see you for another episode very soon. Cheers.